Arrival 2016. Arrival is a 2016 American science fiction drama film directed by Denis Villeneuve and written by Eric Heiser, based on the 1998 short story, Story of Your Life, by Ted Chiang. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis and its role in Arrival. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, also known as linguistic relativity, suggests that the structure of a language affects its speaker's worldview and cognition. In Arrival, this hypothesis is pivotal as it underpins the film's exploration of time and communication. The heptapod's language, with its circular symbols, allows them to perceive time non-linearly. We can see that Louise has been really connecting with the alien language by trying to interpret the nuances of each of the symbols. She's immersing herself into the alien language, and as a result, her brain is getting rewired to perceive reality like the aliens. Here's the catch about the aliens and their language. They don't see time non-linearly, meaning they see the past, present and future simultaneously. Their script is also incongruent with this. It appears all at once, unlike ours. All human scripts start on one side of a page and end on the other, either side to side or top to bottom. The alien script always expresses what they want to say within that circular symbol. It's all in one shot, not one after the other. Immersing oneself in the alien language will rewire the brain to perceive time in a non-linear form. In short, Louise slowly develops the ability to experience her past, present, and future all at once. Through her learning process of the alien language, she begins to see visions of her future life. She sees visions of her yet-to-be-born daughter. Visions of how she will call her Hannah. Visions of Hannah falling sick with cancer and dying. The director at this point makes us think that Louise is remembering her past, but she's actually seeing glimpses of her future. Predestination paradox and bootstrap paradox. To understand what happened here between Chong and Louise, you will need to understand the predestination paradox and the bootstrap paradox. A predestination paradox occurs when a time traveler is caught in a loop of events that predestines, or predates, him or her to travel back in time. Anything that is created within this causal loop is a result of the bootstrap paradox. To simplify this, think of it this way: since time is non-linear for Louise, she gets information from her future and uses it in her present. Dr. Louise is a single teacher who is a linguistic expert. At this point, she is neither married nor has a daughter. She is known to have helped the US Army once before in deciphering a Farsi text. One day when Louise is teaching, 12 alien ships arrive and position themselves around the world. She goes back home, where she stays by herself, and dozes off following the news channel. At this point the director wants us to think that Louise has lost a daughter to cancer and currently lives alone. But that isn't the case. She's just single. Government orders a nationwide shutdown, and as a result the university is closed. Louise goes to an empty college and follows the news there. US Army Colonel Weber Forrest appears there seeking help from Louise. They have a recording of the sounds of the alien. He needs her to help understand what they are trying to say. She tells him that she needs to be at the site to help understand the conversation. Weber gets permissions and comes over to her place in a chopper to pick her up. In the chopper, she meets Ian Donnelly, Jeremy, who is a physicist. He has been picked to understand other aspects of the Arrival. They reach the alien craft and enter it from an opening below. The gravity in the craft is altered and is perpendicular to that of the Earth. This has no significance except to let us know that the aliens are quite clearly an advanced civilization. The team goes wearing radiation suits. On Louise's first trip on board, she's unable to say anything as she's dumbstruck by the sight of the seven-legged aliens. They later begin to call the aliens heptapods. Donnelly nicknames them Abbott and Costello. Banks and Donnelly research the complex written language of the heptapods, consisting of palindromic phrases written with circular symbols, and share the results with other nations. As Banks studies the language, she starts to have flashback-like visions of her daughter. On her second trip into the craft, Louise takes with her a small whiteboard to help write what she is trying to say to the aliens. She first writes the word human on the board to tell them what they are. The pods perceive the written English to be a form of communication and respond with a circular symbol. This shows that they have written text. On their next trip, Louise decides to take off her radiation suit so that the aliens can see her face. She now writes Louise on the board and points to herself. Ian takes off his suit too. She writes Ian on another board and he points to himself. The two aliens respond with two different symbols. They have names too. When Banks is able to establish sufficient shared vocabulary to ask why the heptapods have come, they answer with a statement that could be translated as offer weapon. China interprets this as use weapon, prompting them to break off communications, and other nations follow. Banks argues that the symbol interpreted as weapon can be more abstractly related to the concepts of means or tool. China's translation likely results from interacting with the heptapods using mahjong, a highly competitive game. Rogue soldiers plant a bomb in the Montana craft. Unaware, Banks and Donnelly re-enter the alien vessel, and the aliens give them a more complex message. Just before the bomb explodes, one of the aliens ejects Donnelly and Banks from the vessel, knocking them unconscious. When they wake, the heptapod craft has moved beyond reach and the US military is preparing to evacuate in case of retaliation. General Xiong issues an ultimatum to the alien craft in China, demanding that it leave within 24 hours. Russia, Pakistan, and Sudan follow suit. Communications between the international research teams are terminated as worldwide panic sets in. Donnelly discovers that the symbol for time is present throughout the message and that the writing occupies exactly 1/12 of the 3D space into which it is projected. Banks suggests that the full message is split between the 12 craft and that the heptapods want all the nations to collaborate in order to decipher it. Banks goes alone to the Montana craft, which sends down the transport pod. Abbott has been mortally injured as a result of the explosion. Costello explains that they have come to help humanity, because in 3,000 years' time they will need humanity's help in return. Banks realizes that weapon is their language. Learning the language alters humans' linear perception of time, allowing them to experience memories of future events. Banks's visions of her daughter are revealed to be premonitions. Her daughter will not be born until sometime in the future. Banks returns to the camp as it is being evacuated and tells Donnelly that the alien's language is the tool that was meant by the word weapon. She has a premonition of a United Nations event celebrating global unity achieved by deciphering the heptapod's language. At the event, General Xiong of China thanks Banks for persuading him to stop the attack when she called his private number and recited his wife's dying words. He then shows her his private number and whispers his wife's words into her ear. In the present, Banks takes CIA agent Halpern's satellite phone from a table and calls Xiong's private number to recite the words. The Chinese announce that they are standing down and releasing their 12th of the message. The other countries follow suit, and the 12 spacecraft depart. From what she has learned, Banks writes and publishes a book called The Universal Language, a guide to the heptapod language, which will eventually teach humanity to perceive time the same way as the heptapods. During the evacuation, Donnelly expresses his love for Banks. They talk about their life choices and whether he would change them if he could see his life from beginning to end. Banks knows that she will agree to have a child with him despite knowing their fate, that Hannah will die from an incurable disease and that Donnelly will leave them both as a result of her revealing that she knew this. It is finally revealed to the audience that the scenes with Hannah and Louise is a moment from the future and not the past. Through the arrival ending monologue, they also disclose that Ian is Hannah's father in the future. This simply means that Louise has seen a future where Ian and her fall in love and have a baby. She also knows that her daughter will develop an incurable cancer. She understands the pain of all of this. But she still chooses to have Hannah. But what Louise perhaps does is that she keeps that a secret from Ian. By the time Louise tells Ian about the cancer, it is too late. Hannah is destined to die. When Ian finds out, he's unable to forgive Louise for having a baby, knowing well that she is going to die of cancer at a young age. In one of the visions into the future, you hear Louise saying that it was her fault Hannah's daddy left. Clearly, Ian gets to find out about the impending cancer that is going to plague the girl, and he is unable to handle it and separates from Louise. The last scenes of the Arrival movie show how Louise accepts the future that lies ahead of her and embraces it. Lois constantly obtains information from a possible future and uses it in her present. That is, information from the future travels to the past to influence it, and thus change it, but in a predetermined way, so that in 300 years, humanity will help the Heptates. This is predetermined, the Heptates knew it, but for that to happen, they had to make contact to make humanity unite by teaching them their language. Likewise, Louise sees in her visions that she is married, although her husband's face is never seen, and she also has a daughter. In her visions, her daughter asks her about her father. Louise answers that he left because he could not forgive her. We know now that she confessed to him that she knew that her daughter would leave this world, and still decided to have her. But this is causality of the universe. I took away the romantic part. In the movie, Louise has her daughter because even knowing that she would lose her, she wanted to live that moment. But in the laws of physics, Louise and Ian were predestined to be parents of a daughter, which they would lose when she was still a child. It ISALL. Goodbye.